we are live, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we'll start the session. Again, very good morning. The first session, Mr. Dr. Arunachalam from IIT Madras about the digital twin was very informative, and hope you would have got very good information about digital twin and other aspects. Now for the second session, we have Dr. Swarna Ravindra Babu. He is the founder and CEO of Kuvam Smart Systems Private Limited, and he is also the professor at CIT Chennai. He is here to discuss about the industrial Internet of Things, industrial IoT, as part of the Industry 4.0 webinar workshop. So to say a few words about Dr. Swarna Ravindra Babu, he completed his PhD in the University of New South Wales, Australia, and he has more than 20 years of experience with Samsung Research Labs, Bangalore, and Wipro Technologies previous to start this company. He started his company, Kuvam Smart Systems, in the year of 2015, and having a lot of clients with in the manufacturing as well as OEM Tier 1, Tier 2 companies. We are happy to say that thanks for accepting our request and being part of this workshop, sir.
It's a pleasure indeed.
Yes, Varsha.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Varsha, pursuing second year mechanical engineering at Chennai Institute of Technology. Words may inspire, but its legitimate actions have created changes. Dr. Swarna Ravindra Babu, founder and CEO of Kuvam Smart Systems and Services Private Limited, he secured his doctorate of philosophy in GPS sensor signal processing from the University of New South Wales, Sydney. He joined Wipro Technologies in the year 2005 and worked as a senior consultant for nearly 7 years. He worked with various development industries in both India and abroad for about 20 years. He had authored over 100 papers in technical journals, and he holds 11 patents in India as well as abroad. He had received the international awards for best papers in the field of navigation. He is a reviewer of several journals, including IEEE. Also worked as a principal engineer in Samsung Research India. He has developed products in the areas of GPS, sensors, autonomous navigation of agricultural tractors, and location-based services for premium smartphones. We are glad to have you, sir.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So let's go to the session now.
Please, you can go out of the session, sir.
Sure. So is it visible, sir, the presentation?
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm very glad to be here to share my experiences in the areas of technology, particularly on the Industry 4. Since we've been working in this area for quite a while, more than about closer to 7 to 8 years in this area, so I thought I'll share my experiences right from the development onwards to establishing the solutions at the customer locations, the various real-time challenges, what sort of technologies we use for the Industry 4 applications. So what sort of data analytics we use, sensors, embedded technologies, the various nitty-gritties involved in development of the Industry 4 solutions, as well as commissioning and the real-time challenges associated with this technology. So industries in general, they are the hubs for the economic growth. If you look at even the COVID-19 crisis, you can see that there are a lot of job losses, particularly in the MSME industry segment. Because MSME segment is one of the top job creators next to agriculture, where the main difference between MSME industries and agriculture is that a lot of technological innovations happen in the industry. Not to undermine the agriculture, because now a lot of technological evolutions equally are happening in the agriculture domain as well. The challenge in the industries is we have a lot of machineries, a lot of processes involved in the factory or the production floor, as well as the workforce. So how do we leverage all these three elements, the workforce, the machinery, and the processes together, so that a lot of value can be provided to the management? Any industry will look at providing profit to the management. That is the very purpose of business. So how do we enhance it? Right now, if you look at it, most of the industries are still traditional in nature, where a lot of work has been or is being done using a manual approach, which tend to be highly inefficient. Now, with the advent of this technology under the gamut of Industry 4, a lot of technological evolutions that includes the sensors, the embedded technologies, the communication technologies, the big data, data storage, and data mining technologies, the web and mobile applications, and analytics but are transforming the MSME industry to such an extent that in the next 3 or 4 years, we are going to have a big market opportunity to the order of about $10 trillion in the next 3 or 4 years. And that is what is making very, very attractive to the Industry 4. And the second thing is the premise of Industry 4 is IoT technology, the Internet of Things. Because in future, if you are going to look at every process, every workforce with the humans are going to get connected to the internet. So a lot of link is going to get established within various seemingly different elements, which is going to benefit a lot for the Industry 4. And the Industry 4 is also called as a smart industry. Smart industries are nothing but it uses the ICT technologies, information and communication technology, to improve the productivity of the shop floor, productivity of an organization, both in terms of the factory operations as well as the supply chain services. Because the end-to-end productivity, if you look at it, it encompasses the supply chain as well as the factory production. All put together is what the overall productivity is about. And once these are integrated under the ICT and bringing all of them onto the data world, that is, everything gets quantified, everything gets perceived as a data. So once we move all this information to the data world or the web or mobile applications, then we can see that a lot of economic, social, and environmental benefits get established by linking all these various elements. The smartness primarily comes from how do we effectively sense the environment? How do we effectively sense the machinery? How do we effectively sense the workforce that get associated with the production process? By integrating sensors, very cost-effective embedded technologies and communication technologies, we see that the smartness can be perceived by sensing the physical world. So we are basically converting the physical world to a digital or a virtual world. By mapping the physical world to the virtual world, we see that all benefits of the physical world can be mapped to the virtual world, and benefits can be leveraged for the industry. So this is what the future buzzword is: digitization of industry. You see any conference, you go to any industries, people talk about digitization. So what do you mean by that? There might be a lot of machinery in the production or shop floors in many organizations, in general the MSME industries. And most of them until now is a traditional nature, which means they give some sort of a measurement. It could be analog, it also could be digital. But there is no normalization factor where all this can be equated under one single umbrella. So now say, for example, I have CNC machines, I have VMC machines, lathe machines, milling machines, I have so many machines. And if you were to look at each of these machines, they provide data in different formats. One could be analog, one could be digital, like a various digital formats, I2C, RS232, RS485, such. So USB, such technology. So what happens is when you have so many different technologies, bringing them onto a common platform becomes very difficult. This is where the digitization comes very handy. The moment you have a sensor deployed which captures all this machine's information and normalized to one single format, then all this data consistently can be sent to the backend, to the server, where the data gets processed in the backend, the database and the server. Data gets mined, and then you derive a lot of intelligence on the stored and mined data, and then you share this information to the web and mobile applications. If the data is shared to the senior management, to the middle management, and to the junior management or the engineers who actually work in the shop floor. This is the overall process of digitization, right from sensing of the machines and the workforce to the end viewing in the web and mobile applications constitute the digitization of industries. And this is what is capturing the entire world now. Everyone is looking at how do I view the information, what is actually happening in the shop floor. See, as a senior management, I might be on travel. My team might be involved in developing certain production requirements. how do I get to understand what is actually happening in the industry right now? I need to call up my manager to find out, okay, what is the productivity level right now? How many people are working? All this information I need to check up with somebody, call up somebody and find out. But all this information tends to be sometimes more manipulative depending on the manager. While the productivity could be like a 50%, the manager might say it is about 75, 80%. So what trust do I have on the system now? Always a bit of skepticism will always be there, the information I get from the manager. So now by integrating the sensors and the other technological elements, what actually is viewed by the managers and the teams in the shop floor will also get translated to me in my web or mobile application. That is the power of getting digital. Nobody can manipulate easily because the information gets captured with a high fidelity, closer to like a 95 to 100% fidelity you get the information. This is where the relentless pace of technological advantages is coming to force. The management and the junior team as well as the mid-management like a supervisor, technical managers, everyone will exactly the same information, which means nobody can manipulate the data any further going in the future. And with the introduction of the digital technologies, the business models also are getting changed. In earlier days, or even about 5 years before, you see that there'll be a lot of like every industry-specific solutions. I buy some ERP solution, for example, enterprise resource planning. That will be something specific to one particular industry. If the same industry opens 10 different branches across the geographies, then every branch requires a separate licensing. Now this becomes a very, very costly process because every license I buy, I need to pay in the same amount of money what I paid for the initial version. So now with the technological innovation, there is a SaaS model, software as a service model, wherein one application I build and then I can derive a lot of logins out of that and multiply or scale up my operations as and when I create my own branches across. This is not only cost effective, but also the transformation happens at a very, very rapid pace. These are some of the rapidly changing business models. And it is not on the technological front alone the business models get changed, even on the pricing models. The one-time licensing or the proprietary licenses, if you were to look at it, they sometimes, say for example, ERP, I'll take the typical case of a ERP. ERP might cost about 10 to 15 lakhs, depending on whether you go for SAP or Oracle or what sort of licensing you buy. Now with the SaaS models, we get into subscription models where I'll say, okay, I need only one particular application. So I'll pay only about maybe about 500 to 700 rupees every month. That's all I need to pay. End of the third month, I decide, no, I do not want to do ERP, then I can wind up very easily without incurring any additional cost. So these are some of the rapidly evolving business models across the globe. It's not just in India or developing countries. Across the globe, you see this phenomenon is happening at a rapid pace. And the future beholds to the industries which transform to the digitalization. You digitalize everything that is within your industry. It could be a machinery, it could be a process, it could be a workforce, it could be energy, it could be a water. Everything gets digitalized. You get the exact information what is happening in real time, which means if an incident happens about a second before, the next second you get this information in your dashboard. So this is where the power of the industry 4 comes. We talk about the cyber physical system. Primarily, it is nothing but providing access to the real-time data to every stakeholder in the organization. The revolution happened. I mean, this is the flow in which the revolution happened, right from 18th century to 21st century. If you were to look at it, the first industrial revolution was steam-based and machines. A lot of machinery, you can look at the picture, a lot of machinery operations were handled or were using the steam. It was highly inefficient. The productivity used to be somewhere about 40 to 60%, which was highly unproductive. Then came in the 19th century, the second industrial revolution, where electrical energy, it was then the electrical energy got invented, and slowly the machine and the industry started realizing that with the adoption of electrical energy, a lot more productivity can be achieved. So 10 to 20% of productivity achievements happened because of the revolutionary change. Came 20th century, then further there was a refinement in the industrial revolution where a lot of SCADA, PLCs, and robots and electronics were started to be integrated into the industries. So by this, the productivity again increased by about 10 to about 15% approximately. So a lot of improvement started happening because everything was electronically controlled, electronically monitored. They had a high, almost like 80% high information access as well as the fidelity of the operation. But if you look at the 1980s to about the 2000 and 2005, over a period of 25 to 30 years, a lot of evolution happened in the computing world. So the industries have started realizing this. So why not adopting the computing technologies, which might be far more efficient compared to the third industrial technologies? So with that idea and with that thought process, the industries have started adopting the basically the computing technologies. Computing technologies involve the data analytics, the big data, the data storages, the DB, the web application, mobile application, all inclusive is what the computing world is about. So the fourth industrial revolution primarily talks everything in terms of data. The signals, what gets generated in the electronic devices or electrical machines, gets converted into data, and you view everything in the data world. You analyze the physical operations of the machines, what happens in the physical world, in the digital world by using the data. There are technologies like IoT, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning or deep learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, big data analytics or cloud. These are some of the technologies that encompass the fourth industrial revolution. And when we talk about industry automation, what it means is right from the physical world, that is the machine onwards or the workforce, from there on, the information that gets transferred to the web or mobile applications is what the industry 4 is about. We are not talking about one single technology. Don't talk about only about the physical, the sensors or embedded technologies. We don't talk only about communication technologies or the cloud or computing technologies. The integration of all these technologies is what makes very attractive the industry for standards. And equally, when you look at it, the challenges also are equally high because an industry has to be conversant with all this, right from the physical devices onwards to the web or mobile applications. The industries have to be conversant if they want to be successful in the fourth generation technologies. So the backbone of industry IoT is IoT, Internet of Things. Internet of Things talk about the things, the connectivity or the communication technologies and the people and process which accesses the data that comes from the machinery world. The things could be like a sensor that gets integrated with the machines or the workforce or various elements, and the actuators that control the machine operation and various embedded elements constitute the things. Once we generate the information from the machines through the sensors, then this information has to be conveyed to the back end, the server. So what sort of technology? Now we need to have a gateway, the embedded gateways which captures the information from the sensors through the physical interfaces like RS-232, USB, Modbus, or CAN bus. So using these interfaces, the gateway collects the data from the sensors, then it does the first level intelligence, which is called as edge analytics. The first level processing of the data is done within the hardware, that is edge devices, which decides whether to send the data to the server or not. Because many times you see that the data that gets sent to the cloud server is redundant. So for example, I am sending an image or video where 90% of the information could be redundant. So why sending 90% of the information and choking the communication bandwidth as well as increasing the cost to the production? Decide in the first place before you send whether this 90% of the data which is redundant needs to be sent to the server or not. If redundant, then the hardware can decide. So the edge analytics, it can decide, okay, 90% of the data need not be sent to the cloud. You send only the 10%. This is the first level intelligence that is imparted to the industry 4 applications, which is called as edge analytics. Then comes the communication technology. The communication technologies could be like a 2G, 3G, 4G, or the futuristic 5G. Or it could be a wireless technology like a Bluetooth, BLE technologies, or 6LoWPAN, low power wireless power area networks, wide area network devices. Such technologies are available, the latest state-of-art technologies, and we also have the latest LoRa, long-range communication technologies. A lot of evolution happens even in the communication technology because the major cost in the overall industry core is constituted by the communication or the connectivity technologies. That because primarily we are pushing the data and to transfer the data from the physical to the virtual world, we need to spend money to transfer the data. So how much you optimize, it also optimizes the cost, and therefore the benefits can be provided to the management. And finally, in the data, we see that we have the servers, we have the databases which stores the data and processes the data and mines the data. Big data technologies are involved because a voluminous data will get transferred from the physical world to the backend. If it's from an ERP, you see that the data may not be too huge, but if it's from machines, each machine might be sending a data at a speed of about 1 millisecond to 1 second. So voluminous data gets generated from the machines and then get transferred to the backend. So we have both structured databases or unstructured databases, depending on what sort of data that we are dealing with. If it is from machines, we use a structured data like a MySQL or a SQL databases. If it is unstructured, we have a Mongo such databases can be used. And because the data becomes voluminous, the mining of the data becomes very challenged now. So big data tools like Hadoop tools can be used where it mines the data, gives all the data to the analytics engine, where the engine analyzes the data, derives the patterns, reports, dashboards, all that streams to the REST protocols to the web and mobile applications. So this is what the end-to-end industry applications are about. The backbone of this is IoT. So why IoT is important? People across the globe are talking about IoT. Everyone talks. You go to a startup industry, you go to an established organization, the big companies, the Fortune 500 companies, and you go to the universities or conferences, you see IoT becomes like a de facto topic. The reason being about 200 billion devices are going to be integrated. Already there are closer to like a 75 to 100 billion devices already integrated. You take a smart city application, smart agriculture, smart transportation, logistics, in the smart supply chain industries, any healthcare industries. You talk about any industry. Finally, what we are interested in is what is the intelligence, what is the real information that I need to capture from the physical world. That is what the essence is. People don't look only at the data. Data is absolutely does not have any value. What is the inference or what is the interpretation you get from this data is what provides actual value to the management. The return on investment or the ROI is derived from the interpretation what we do from the data that we store. The stored data does absolutely do not have much value at all. The value actually comes what sort of interpretation you give to the stored data is where the value to the organization comes. And this data come from about 200 billion devices in the next 2 or 3 years. Already 100 billion devices are integrated in various forms across applications. It's not confined only to the industry 4. It is for the smart agriculture, healthcare applications, supply chain, logistics, any industry, they all look at intelligences for which we need to deploy the sensors. Because finally, if you want to capture some information from the physical world, we need to have transducers or the sensors. So sensors get deployed. The 200 billion devices is what is making this industry very, very attractive. So you can imagine the industry prospects. It is not just about the 200 billion devices, the associated or affiliated technology. The moment I deploy 200 billion sensors, then I need to be talking about the communication technology that transfers the data from these 200 billion devices to the server. So a lot of business gets operational in the communication technology. Now there needs to be embedded devices, a lot of embedded devices, because these are the devices that get the information from the sensors, processes them, and then streams to the communication technology. Now we are also talking opportunities in the embedded world. Now, when all this data gets generated, data gets communicated to the server, we talk about the backend technologies. We talk about parallel processing. We talk about GPUs for the augmented reality and deep learning technologies. We talk about big data technologies to deal with the voluminous data. We are looking at a 10 power 15, 10 power 18, 10 power 21 bytes of data. Yottabytes, zettabytes is what is going to be the standard in the next 2 or 3 years, which means in about a month's time, an industry with about closer to, let's take about 2,000 to 3,000 sensors. It's a mid-size plant, the production plant. You see that we'll be talking about yottabytes. So this is the level of the data and technology that we are talking about, which means The IoT has got a huge prospect because the world is looking at intelligence. The world is looking at the value that can be extracted from the physical world. This is what the world is looking, and we'll see a lot more companies will get into digitization. Particularly after this COVID-19 effect, you see that the organization will look at how do I minimize my manpower. You cannot get away with it from the manpower. How do I minimize from the manpower? How do I make the system more accountable? This can be done only by using a digital technology. It can be an ERP, enterprise resource planning. It can be a manufacturing execution system. So, but all come under the digital world, digital applications. And while IT, on the right circle, you see that IT, information technology, has been in existence for over 30 years. The operation technology and its digitization has been evolving in the past 4 or 5 years. We talk about industries. How do I digitize my industries? My business operations, it is not always like a physical world. Even the processes get digitized. The processes under the guise of ERP gets digitized. The consumers, how do I track my consumers? Say, for example, a consumer uses an energy level. Say, I set a threshold for my home. For example, the 1,000 rupees is my budget for this month. But with the current existing system, I do not get to understand how much money actually I'm spending. Only at the end of the second month, I get to understand, okay, this is the bill I need to pay. I might be in for a root shop. How do I keep track of all this in real time? This is all done using the operation technologies. It could be for a smart home application or smart industries as well. The smart cities primarily depends on Industry 4 technologies or IoT technologies. So the bringing in together the operational technology plus the IT technology is what the IoT is about. Even the clerical jobs now are getting replaced by robotic process automation or RPA. The company might be handling about hundreds of invoices every day. 1 or 2 persons get allocated to handle all these invoices, all these clerical jobs. They get fatigued after maybe a couple of hours, invoice after invoice. So a lot of work gets procrastinated because they will not be able to do that efficiently. Whereas now we have the robotic process automations, which does all these operations in a flash, very, very effective. All you need to do is just program it, train the system. It uses AI technologies. So this is how the industries are evolving. How do I minimize the manpower? This is the utmost goal of any industry. By introducing automation, that is the only way how to improve my productivity. So going forward, every industry, you take a micro industry which is set up in a very small room or a small house, to the Fortune 500 industries, everyone talks about digital technologies. You talk to the owner of a micro enterprise, he will say, can I view the operations of my machine or the operations of my workforce using my mobile? They don't talk about Industry 4. They don't talk about any tech. They don't understand what IoT is, what big data is, what analytics is. But what they say is, can I view all this information in my mobile? Can I see what is my billing amount? So all this, what he actually implies is that he's looking at modern technologies. But as a layman, he puts in a very, very simple language. But as engineers, it is our responsibility to understand what actually his requirement is, transform them with our technological knowledge, convert them into a very, very simple and a user-friendly solution to the end customer. The MSME industries in only India is closer to like 18 million. Then you can imagine the type of market what we are looking in this particular MSME segment alone. So the moment we understand that there is something like a potential revenue prospect for us, then we can understand that what sort of focus I need to have. Whether I'm a graduate or I am doing my engineering, I can understand where I need to put in my focus. These are some of the technologies that are currently in existence, and these are going to be real futuristic for the next 10 or 15 years. IoT technologies on the left, the big data and internet technologies. In internet, we will be looking increasingly at IPv6 standards. Even the 5G technology, if you look at it, they use IPv6, which means every device will have its unique IP address. Unlike the IPv4, where it's a shared basis, you get them. Whereas in IPv6, every single device, I talk about 200 billion devices, all 200 billion devices will have a unique IP, which means I can monitor, I can control each and every machine using a unique IP. We talk about the cloud server and the databases. This technology is highly evolving because of the type of data that we are dealing with. We talk about the communication technology, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, wireless technologies, LoRa, 6LoWPAN, such technology, Bluetooth Low Energy. So we have the augmented reality technology or virtual reality primarily for the training purposes in industries currently. And they're also looking at the diagnosis of the machines using augmented reality. If a new engineer joins or an engineer goes to the field to service a machine, but the specialist stays back in his factory, which could be remote. So how do I get the link between these people, the field engineers as well as the specialists who work in the office? This can be done by using an augmented reality technology. The field engineer will have a small tab with him or a mobile application with him where he takes it to the machine, he does the first level diagnosis, streams all this data in live to the backend, where the specialist will see as is, as if he is near that machine only. So this is what the digital twins is about. How do I map my physical world to the virtual world so that by having a remote, even having the remote access, I'll be able to debug as if I am near the machine or near the devices. This is what the power of augmented reality, virtual reality technologies are going to be. They are currently used in training as well as a diagnosis. And increasingly, we'll be looking at a lot more applications for the augmented reality. And AI, you know that the power of AI, the intelligence, what we talk about, it could be in the hardware or it could be in the backend, is done using the artificial intelligence, which also means we'll be using a machine learning or deep learning, depending on the problem that we work with. So going forward, every application, you talk about a mechanical domain, you talk about electrical, civil or electronics, every application will be looking at the AI. Industries are interested, the management is interested in deriving the intelligence. We've been working with a lot of clients. What I say is the reports, are the reports intelligent? No more people are interested only in a standard report. They say, suppose, okay, today I have 10 reports with me. I need to generate 11th report to analyze some sort of a pattern. Can your application generate the 11th report without the coders getting involved? The moment I ask 11th report, I don't want anybody still getting back to the coding, doing the build, and then putting in the server, gaining access, which is a time-consuming process. If I need to generate 11th or 12th or 20th report, then I should be able to do it by myself. All I need to do is select few parameters, the report should get generated. This is the type of information what the future managements are looking at. This is not like we are talking about Fortune 500. Even to the small companies, the mid-sized companies are talking about these things, the dynamic reports or the dynamic dashboards. I might have a histogram for one of the plots, but whereas he will say, no, you give me a pie. So I cannot put an engineer again to redo all this work. What this is dynamically, it has, you give me an option of various plots. It could be a histogram, it could be a pie chart, it could be a bar chart, it could be anything, scatter plot, it could be anything. I should be able to pick and choose what sort of plot, what sort of visualization I should want at that given point in time. That is the level of intelligence what even the mid-sized customers are having these days. So which means if we want to be successful in industries, we need to have a holistic understanding of all these technologies. It is not possible to specialize in each and every technological element. At least we need to have a holistic understanding of each of these technologies. So this is what we are going to look at. It's the Internet of Things, the services and data. And increasingly the production plant is also being used as a production as a service. The service models are getting introduced even in the factory or the shop floor. The things we talk about, the embedded technology, the sensor technology, and the communication technologies. Every machine is going to be get integrated with all these combined technologies. I'll have one single device that I will plug into my machine. This particular a small footprint device with a low cost will have the sensor, will have the embedded technology, will have the communication technology, all within one single platform. It's a plug and play. All I need to do with this device is program my IP address and port number. That is all. The backend will get this information. The services will get this information from the machine. It does the first level validation of whether this machine is authorized to send the data to me. Once the authorization takes place, then it checks for authentication. The various key signatures or the security aspects will be checked. Once the data passes through all these things, then it is given to the application for further analysis or the viewing. So comes the third, the Internet of Data, where the data from these machines and the processors get stored in the databases, they get mined, checked for security. The security is application level security, the network level security, and the data level security. All these securities are checked. And then once all these checks are passed, then the analysis takes place. The data analysis, what sort of information I want to view in the web or mobile applications. Analysis is done using analytic tools like a Python or any such tool. Then the data is sent to the web and mobile applications. So this is what you are going to see in the future. We talk about IoT, we talk about Internet of Services or Internet of Data. It is irrespective of the type of discipline we come from. It could be from a civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, embedded mechatronics, any domain. The industries are looking at skills that encompasses these technologies, at least at a holistic level to start with specialization in one particular technology. And so you see, whatever we summarize, I mean, you can see this is what the digital factory is about. We talk about equipment and processes. The equipment could be any equipment. There are two types of equipment. One is we call brownfield equipment, where the equipment might have been installed about 15, 20, or 30 years before, which is still successfully running. I cannot just discard this machine, get a new machine because the new machine gives me all the digital technologies. We also should have a provision to retrofit these digital technologies onto the existing machine and leverage the same benefits what a new machine will have. This is called as the brownfield technologies. And the latest machines are actually greenfield technology based, wherein they come with a lot of digital sensors, digital technologies. So the solutions that we build should be capable of dealing both with the brownfield as well as with the greenfield technologies. We have the sensors embedded, the workforce, the cloud servers, the wireless communications like a BLE, LoRa, 6LoWPAN technologies, the AI technologies, and the web mobile. All this put together is what Industry 4. So when somebody talks about Industry 4, they don't talk only about one particular element. It is end-to-end, right from the physical devices to the virtual, the web and mobile is what people talk about. People imply when they mean the Industry 4. The future digital factories are going to use all these elements in a seamless fashion. So any engineer who is willing to work on Industry 4 technology should have a real knowledge on end-to-end technologies, end-to-end. It is not that I come with a communication or electronics and communication background, I can understand only the embedded technology, which means a lot of information that gets stored in the database, I may not even be able to interpret because I don't understand the back end, the server. The people with the computing technologies may not understand what information they are storing at all, which means if they have to do some analytics, they may not even understand what sensor information we are getting and what analytics needs to be done. So which will see that the computer graduate also needs to understand what is the physical devices I am dealing with, what sort of data I am dealing with. So now a mapping has to be done from the data to the application. So with this understanding only, he'll be able to provide value to the end customer. Otherwise, it becomes like he'll be very, very less useful to the organization. And this is what the biggest challenge industries are seeing now. An electronics person or electrical person may not understand what is happening at the back end. And computer person may not even understand what data he is dealing with. All he understands is the tool and okay, some data is there, I need to do some process. But the real value, what we talk about, they will never be able to achieve because they lack knowledge in this. It is multidisciplinary skills that going forward, the graduates and the engineers will be requiring, irrespective of the discipline they study. These are the streamlined factories which rely on RFID, the barcoding, the QR coding, such technologies where every device is going to get tagged. Every device, a small device will have a barcode or a QR code or a laser code or RFID technology embedded within them. So you just have to have a scanner, that's all. Suppose in a warehouse, I take a warehouse, I just walk across the warehouse with my RFID reader. In a flash, in a second, I'll be able to read closer to like 100 devices, whether what is the quantity of devices that I have in my repository or inventory. And if there are some shortages in any of my inventory items, automatically these readers will detect, they pass on to the backend admin application. So admin, in a flash, he will get to understand, okay, my inventory is less now, I need to place an order. So this high level of automation can be done or is being done by integrating the technology element. Every machinery, we talk about the transportation technologies, they'll have a lot of embedded intelligence. We talk about a small industry components like a screws, all that. They will have a laser embed very low cost. We are talking about low cost solutions, laser embedded solutions or a barcode or a QR code. So these are going to be part of an industry 4 solution. And some of the important features of the future the management will be looking at is the agility of the production process or the supply chain process should be real fast, and it should have a stronger customer centricity. The moment customer places an order until the manufacturing component goes down, everything should be digitalized. The process should be transparent and should be seamless. Earlier, what happens is one department will get the information. Okay, customer has placed an order. Now he'll talk to the production of the planning department. They will take this order information. They will do all the planning, which is more manual process, and then they will convey it to the production department. The production department is again one of the managers will go to the planning team and then get the information. He again does one more internal planning. Then he starts the production process. Once the goods are manufactured, then there is again a lot of process involved in delivering the goods to the customers. Now gone are the days where all these manual processes will be there. The future will be like the moment customer places an order, everything is done simultaneously in parallel as much as possible. The planning and strategy team will immediately understand what resources, the human resources are free for a particular production order, and then what sort of inventory is available. If inventory is not there, how immediately I will place an order to the vendors. And once the items are given to the manufacturing process, what is the status of each of my manufacturing processes in real time? Whether my productivity is as planned or a lot of rejections are happening, everything is viewed in real time so that course corrections will happen in real time. That is efficiency what I talk about, the production processes. And a lot of innovation, primarily from the industry 4 point of view, a lot of innovations are happening. The energy optimization, the water optimization, the process optimization, the workforce optimization, the machinery optimization, all these optimizations are happening using innovative technologies and innovative business processes. So these are going to be the processes of the future. And this is what the digital factory is about. We talk about a predictive maintenance where even before a machine fails, the system should come forward and tell us, okay, in 2 or 3 days, the machine's performance is going to be only 80% as what it is currently today. It is going to be like a 50% in the next 2 weeks. So with this information, then the maintenance team will approach the diagnostics team or the vendors, and then they get the machine, the issues sorted out. Which means my productivity, I will see that a fairly consistent productivity I can plan because I'm able to predict my machine's performance in the future. And the process control by using advanced ERP technologies. See, ERP, we talk about right from attendance management, the delivery management, the CRM or the customer relationship management, the inventory management, asset management. So all this gets integrated now. So currently, if you look at it, most of the industries will have a attendance application from one vendor, asset management from other vendor, inventory management, delivery management from different vendors. So integration or integrating the data from each of these applications is almost a humongous task because we have to download the data from one application in Excel format, then import this data into the other application, the Excel import, then analyze the data, which is a very time-consuming process. Now all the systems are going to get integrated. They're already integrated in some high-end applications like SAP, Oracle, or MS Dynamics. You see, they're all integrated, but they are extremely expensive tools. Even the mid-level or the MSME segments are looking at a very low-cost ERP solution, which has an integrated approach like this. And some of the other features of digital factories are the scheduling, the predictive quality. Again, how do I predict my quality of deliverables, quality of my input? We call it the quality assurance and quality control. And real-time supply chain. The moment my inventory items go below a certain threshold, then how do I place an order automatically to the vendors? So, which means we are talking about a JIT system, just-in-time system. Just-in-time manufacturing is a highly productive system which is implemented in Japan and advanced countries. So the similar approach we can also bring to developing countries only if you can digitize the complete supply chain. The supply chain constitutes the raw material manufacturers, the warehouse organizations or the industries, the delivery management, the delivery people who supply the raw materials to the manufacturing industry, the manufacturing process, again taking the finished goods to the end customer through a multiple chains. When all this gets integrated, then we can go for just-in-time manufacturing process. And we also look at the connected diagnosis or the connected field services engineers through the augmented reality technology integration. We see that there's a high level of diagnosis that can be done in a very short time. So the life cycle of the entire process, the digital process, like right from development to decommissioning of the machine or the process to recommissioning, everything gets integrated by using the various technological elements. So you can see that there'll be extremely low disruptions in the operations of the industries because there'll be a systematic planning because I have an access to the data. I have a transparency in my operations. Right from bootstrapping of my hardware to the maintenance phase, I see that everything can be planned upfront. So this sort of planning helps us to optimize my life cycle of my entire production process or the development process. These are the typical industry IoT platforms. Bottom, you can see that a lot of machinery, well, like a lathe, centrifuge, CNC machines, VMC, a lot of transportation vehicles like a cranes, trucks, and so many other things. This is the physical world. Now, by using the sensors in the next, like a temperature, vibration, humidity, gas, and so many sensors, we'll be dealing with closer to 30 to 40 different sensors for industries at the minimum. So these sensors capture the information either being retrofitted to the machine or as part of the greenfield machine. They capture the information through the edge gateways. They transfer the information to the cloud or proprietary software, proprietary servers. Once the data gets stored in the servers, now we have the delivery engine, we have the application engine, we have the analytics engine and automation engines. Various engines work on this data. They trigger alerts. They raise the bills, they show the reports and dashboards, they provide the performance of each of the machines, the process, email alerts, SMS, so dashboards. So various engines will work concurrently on this stored data and then they provide various intelligences to the management. And these are the typical platforms that we are going to look at. We are not going to look at the individual solutions to each customer. We are going to look at the broader manner because we understand 80% of the industry requirements could be similar. If you can carefully analyze the industry requirements, 70 to 80% could have a lot of varieties. So what it means is if I develop a solution for one industry, it holds good to 80% to all the other industries. It requires only 20% for the customization, which brings down the cost extensively. So these are the business models that the industries will be looking at. Because particularly the MSME industries will be looking at a very low cost solution. So how do I facilitate this low cost unless I convert my solution into a platform? And these are the platforms that are going to be in practice in the future industries. And some of the features of the platform should be able to retrofit the devices, the secured cloud hosting, because we are talking about application level security, we are talking about data level security. Unless the customer is convinced that your system is secure, your business will go for a tailspin. So it's very important that your applications need to be secured because only if you ensure the security, only then the future customers or the industries will come. And the wireless technologies, because across shop floors, you're going to see various kinds of deployments of the wireless technologies. Alerts, various alerts should be configurable by the admin. So say, for example, I have a temperature machine. The operating temperature of my machine is 400 degrees Celsius. The moment it touches 405 degrees, I need the maintenance team to be, or the technical team to be intimated. So I raise the alert. So these sort of customization of the alerts, all that should be configurable by the respective industry admins. And we have the various reports and dashboards, which should be dynamic and which should be intelligent. They're not like a static or a stationary reports any further. Industries would be looking at dynamic reports and dynamic dashboards. And the platforms could be centralized or decentralized. And the future technologies will be talking about more about decentralization, where the intelligence data processing gets done at various locations, not at one single location, for optimizing the cost and speed. So there are Despite all the benefits of Industry 4, we also have seen the market prospects, but we see there'll be a lot of technological challenges. One is an engineer or a team that gets involved in Industry 4 development needs to have a holistic understanding of all these technologies. This holds good particularly for the mid-management, where they tend to talk to the customer, understand what the problem is. To provide a solution to a particular problem of industry, the team or the person interacting with the customer should have a decent knowledge from end to end. The person should be competent in hardware to a reasonable extent, with the communication technologies, with the back-end server technologies to the web and mobile technologies. Unless the team or the person who is handling the customer has this knowledge, many of the discussions might be very, very unproductive, because he might not be able to interpret what the customer actually requires. And how do I transform these requirements into a technological solution? So I need to understand various standards involved, various technological components involved, and only then I'll be able to provide an appropriate solution to the end customer. So these are some of the technological challenges, because this involves multidisciplinary competences. It comes over a period of time. People getting involved in these technologies over a period of time should build up these competences. We have a security challenges like authentication, authorization, security attacks, and identity management, privacy itself. This becomes very important to address before we deploy the solution to the customer. The moment any leak happens, any security attack happens to the application, then the business is gone. Absolutely, it is gone. Because a company which places an order on us, they depend on our on the security of the data, because there could be a billing information that is part of the data. So the moment billing information goes to the competitors via hacking or something, then the trust is gone on the company which has placed an order on us. They no more trust on us, then this becomes a vicious circle where all the industries, all the customers will start getting this feedback from these customers. I mean, original customer who's got affected. So your business absolutely will go the moment security of your data and application gets compromised. So it's very important, and we need to place equal importance as much as we place in application development. We also need to place equal importance on the middleware, on the security aspect of the data and the network and the application level. Some of the Industry 4 benefits are like the operational performance is going to be really enhanced, because we are talking about digital technologies. Data immediately gets reflected to the management as what is being seen by the low-level junior field engineer. So this level of transparency will cut down the risks involved in the organization. And as the digital technologies are evolving, we see that the cost also comes down of the components. So the entire operational cost of the industries come down. The reduced downtime, because we're able to predict when the machine is going to reduce its performance or is going to fail. Asset utilization, the safety and compliance, because we can monitor the machines, we can monitor the various workforces involved in the production process, either using a visual technology like a camera or using the wireless technologies like RFIDs, barcodes, BLE technology. So we understand what is actually happening to the shop floors and the machines. The flexibility and agility is extremely high with the digital technologies. The moment I need to start a branch, I need to open one more industry at some other location, all it requires is like a very few weeks or a few days. That is all it requires. Very quickly, you can create a copy of the base production plant to the future branches. So that is the power of the digital technologies. And transparency and traceability is extremely high in the digital technologies. The transparency, because the end-to-end stakeholders can view the same information without any manipulation with 100% fidelity. Traceability is when something goes bad. By reverting back to the entire process, the chain of processes, I should be able to debug or diagnose the problem very faster because of the traceability of the information. So these are some of the future Industry 4 benefits. So the manufacturing process involves like a supply chain, inventory. The operation efficiency is really going to be extremely high with the predictive maintenance. And on the right side, you see that some of the business processes that are going to be increasingly integrated in the manufacturing industries. So some of the real-time implementations in industries, you look at the physical world on the left side, like it could be an induction furnace, centrifugal casting. So all this physical world information is transferred to the web and mobile applications on the right using the various processors. You see the gateway in the middle, which is a very intelligent gateway with analytics. The interface between the machines and the gateway is like using a wireless or the wire technologies. Or they most often they use the industry interfaces like a 4 to 20 milliamps or RS485 Modbus or a wireless like a Wi-Fi or a BLE technologies. The data is stored in the databases within the hardware. The databases doesn't mean necessarily we are talking about the backend. Even within the hardware, we have a high-power databases like a SQL, MySQL, SQLite, or the MongoDB get installed within the gateways. Because what happens is, suppose if there is a network disconnectivity, network has failed, whereas the machines keep pumping the data. I cannot afford to lose my data because data is money, data is power. So how do I address this? So the gateways need to have a mechanism whereas during the period of network disruption, they should be able to store the data and send back the data the moment network is restored. So these sort of mechanisms need to be built within the gateway. And since there's a cost involved in transferring the data from the gateway to the backend to the server, the gateway should also have the intelligence as to how do I optimize my data transmission? How do I understand what data needs to be really sent to the backend? If, for example, if my temperature measurements are always 25 degrees Celsius, then what is the point of me sending all the same measurements to the backend? So it is absolute waste. Only if there is any change in my measurements, then I need to send. So this level of analytics or information data pre-processing is done within my gateway. And then using a wireless technology, like it could be 2G, 3G, 4G modems, or it could be a LoRa such gateways, I send the data to the backend. And now here I see, if it is a voluminous data, the HTTP protocols would not be sufficient, or it could be a highly inefficient protocol for the high voluminous data transmission. Highly efficient protocols like a MQTT, message queuing telemetry transport, or constrained application protocol or XMPP protocol, such IoT protocols are available to efficiently stream the data to the backend. And we also have the real-time diagnostics done in the shopper using a HDMI and serial port, and the data can be viewed on a big monitor, like a 40-inch TV screen or a big LCD screen. This is what the future industries are going to have. Most of the shoppers will have a big screen which shows the real-time operations capability of operation performance of the machines and the workforces and the processors. So data is eventually sent to the web and mobile platforms, where depending on the access given whether to the supervisor, to the mid-level management, senior management, or the owners, the information is shared to by using one single application, multiple access controls are given to various stakeholders to access the relevant data. So reports and dashboards become very critical because in a very user-friendly graphical format, you can observe the trends of, it's not just about the data, it is more about the visual graphs and the trends that are going to be very important for the future. And in the web, there could be a lot of third-party applications already the industry might have. So any future applications that we build should have the capability to expose APIs to get the data from the third-party applications which are already existent with the industry. And a brief about how AI is relevant. So AI, we know that can think like almost like a human, depending on the context. Once you train the system, they can take a rational decision. Rational in the sense that it need not be like I just program using rules, some certain rules I program, then the machines become very ineffective. The decisions become very ineffective because depending on the context what we work, sometimes the decision process, what we humans do is like we dynamically adapt our thinking process depending on the context. If the machines are programmed to have a fixed way of thinking, then the same concept what we implement for a particular industry may not hold good to a different industry. The systems need to be adaptive. They need to have a cognitive intelligence inbuilt. That is what is the rational thinking about. So the AI technologies can be programmed to dynamically adapt to the context that the technology is working with or the concept is working with. This is more about the rational way of analyzing the activities or the data. The role of AI is going to be very, very prevalent in all the future industries because what industries we look at is the intelligence and it's not the data. When I talk about the reports or the dashboards or RPA, robotic process automation, what I'm actually inferring is what sort of intelligence that it can impart to my existing system so that my system will have the same or similar thinking process such as the humans that we do. And then give me a reasonable level of intelligent data or intelligent interpretations in the form of reports, dashboards, or the graphs. So this is what the future industries will look at. And this is what the architecture, like we might be working on, depending on the type of data that we deal with. If we could be working with unsupervised technology or a supervised technologies, supervised like a neural network, which is very popular, where we train upfront because we understand, okay, this is what the operation of my particular machine. If I have a clear understanding how my machines are going to be operated, then I can train my system using a neural network or a deep learning. Suppose in case if I were to use my system in some unknown environments, I can go for unsupervised for the first level intelligences. So these applications are getting extensively used in the machinery world, in the process world. So you can see the integration of IoT, AI, and big data. So when somebody talks about the Industry 4, when somebody even talks about IoT, what they mean is the end-to-end, the integration of all these three areas. We talk about IoT, the physical world. We talk about the virtual world, the AI, ML, the big data world, web and mobile applications. This is what we mean by digital twins is the physical world, exactly what is happening. I should be able to, by viewing the virtual information, I should be able to perceive that I'm actually seeing the physical world. By integrating the augmented reality and virtual reality technologies, it will be like looking at the machine on my screen, it will appear as if I'm actually looking at the machine itself. This is what the future is going to be. This can be facilitated by the integration of all these three technologies. So what are the biggest benefits? One is we understand what the market is. We have seen that that's closer to $10 trillion in the 3 years, but how in the next 3 or 4 years? So what are the various benefits that we get by adopting the Industry 4 standards in my industry? One is cost gets, the recurring cost or the capex or the capital cost gets reduced because a lot of redundant processes can be eliminated. The operation equipment, the predictive analytics can be done on the machine's performance. The speeds can be improved because my system and my process gets captured digitally. So I understand every instant what is actually happening. Whether my workforce is productive, whether my machine is productive, I can understand every instant of time. My quality improvement can happen substantially higher compared to the world industry, and safety can be improved by using the visual and the other sensing technologies. So this is what the future is. We're looking at the benefits of adopting the Industry 4 standard, substantial benefits the industries are going to reap by adopting this Industry 4 technology. And the market. So the opportunities exist in like energy management. Every industry is going to look at how my energy optimization could be done, because one of the major factors in the operational cost of any industry is the energy. The machines consume a lot of power. If the machine is not idle, but still it is running in idle mode, so it still consumes power. The moment I understand the machine is operating under idle condition, so I can do a lot of energy optimization. I can switch off the particular machine because I can monitor everything what is happening in my virtual applications using a web or mobile. Then we talk about the workforce management. Workforce management is the workforce one. When we talk about the employees, the attendance is one thing. The employees might come at 9 o'clock, they leave at 6 o'clock. But how productive they are within the 9 hours is what is going to be important for the future applications. So there are a lot of technologies, there are a lot of processes that are coming in which will measure the workforce productivity. These are some of the areas that are going to be very critical. The asset management by using the RFID barcode or a QR code or a Bluetooth technology, the equipment management, the production management for delivery. So these are some of the opportunity areas that will be increasingly seen in the future. So the global opportunity, you see that we have a scope across in the hardware, in the communication, in the services, the backend, in the software development. We have enormous opportunities. But we have to bear in mind that when I talk about the hardware in the Industry 4 context, I'm not just talking about only the hardware alone, but with the context of the particular industry I am working with. That is extremely important. I am not talking about just the data as part of my software responsibility. I am talking more about the software with respect to a particular problem or with particular to a particular domain. This is what is important. Just by understanding, I know Java, I know JavaScript, I know Python. What do I do if I do not understand what sort of data I am dealing with? I cannot provide any value addition. Somebody else has to always be there with you, giving you the understanding of what sort of data you're dealing with. That means we become highly inefficient if we lack skills in the domain as well. So the future scope of opportunities, the industries we look at, the people having the reasonable domain skills as well, not just the platform or the software or the hardware skills, but also the domain or the problem statements they're dealing with. So at least a high level of knowledge will be required. So this is a global opportunity that we'll be looking at in a very short phase. It is also, it's not just in the global market, the Asia Pacific. India has a market scope of closer to like a $1 to $2 trillion in the next 3 or 4 years. Even in countries like a domestic, developing economies, we see such a huge potential for the industry 4 technologies. So by segments, we see the market, the manufacturing industries, the security industries, the smart buildings, the smart homes, the supply chain, the healthcare industries, huge, enormous market scope across the globe. We see that there's a potential. And by solution, we see that remote monitoring, remote diagnostics, the security management, the network management, device management, the IoT technologies. So all will be used as part of the solution. So we are almost coming to the end of the presentation. So what future beholds for us? There are potential applications like one is in the productions we'll be talking increasingly on robotics. Robotics is going to be an integrated element of most of the manufacturing industries, right from micro industries, because I want to automate my production process. The bottom line of every intelligence, every future industry 4 segment is they are looking at how do I minimize my manpower, increase my productivity. That is what every industry is going to talk about, which means a lot of automation is going to take place. When we talk about industry 4, we also talk about robotics in production, robotics in supply chain, such as like in warehouses. So increasingly, we are going to talk about robotic processes involved, the predictive maintenance before even a machine fails. What sort of prediction can I give to the management so that the downtime of the machine comes down substantially? Additive manufacturing, like a 3D printing, is going to, because requirements also become dynamic in nature. Suddenly, an industry comes, I want this component within 2 weeks. Can you give it to me? I cannot go for high-end fabrication and manufacturing process. Additive manufacturing, like a 3D printing, is going to be extremely useful. In a couple of 2 or 3 days, I'll get the entire product out there, including the mechanical. It can be environmental devices like IP65, IP66 standards. It can be any shape, any form, and we will be able to manufacture using the additive manufacturing, the 3D printing. And the machines are going to be used as a service. If a particular company has orders relatively less in a particular time period, they can also provide the machines as a service to other customers as well. This level of machines as a service can only be done by integrating the machines as part of the internet technology or the industry 4 technology. We are going to talk about like a 10 power 24, 10 power 21 bytes of data. So which means big data and big data tools are going to be prevalent even in the smallest industries, because data gets generated at a rapid pace from the machines particularly. Production line simulation using augmented reality and virtual reality are going to be de facto in the near future. Augmented reality is catching up extremely fast even in mid-sized industries for diagnosis and training purposes. And the supply chain automation is the important area because every segment is connected, right from the raw material manufacturer to the end customer. Almost like a lot of industries are connected within the supply chain network. Warehouse industries, the manufacturing industries, the distributors, the retailers, to the end customers, a lot of supply chain elements that get integrated. So connecting and having a transparent integration across the entire supply chain is going to be very, very critical. If my consignments are being delivered to the customer, I also need to understand where exactly my vehicle is now. When exactly was my consignment delivered to the customer? I need to have information to optimize my operations in the future. If I have authorized the vehicle to go in a particular route and he has taken a different route for whatever reason, unless I have this information, I will be unable to take any action on the particular driver. Once I have this information, then I understand for a certain reason that driver has taken that particular route. He is not manipulating the operation. So this level of transparency is going to be very, very important for all future applications across all segments, like a physical devices, from the machines to the robotic process, to the additive manufacturing, to the production flow, to the delivery network. So the future belongs to intelligence. It is not that I write a piece of code with a very, very passive application array. The future industries are looking at some sort of an intelligence at every level. It could be a very small web application I developed for a micro enterprise. Even the micro enterprise owners do understand what the information they need. We cannot manipulate them. We cannot just give a very beautifully UX application. What they'll be looking at, what is the value I get from this web or mobile application? What is the value I get in terms of return on investment? So such are the type of expectations from the industries, right from micro to the Fortune 500 industries. They might put this in a different language. The lay people or the micro enterprise people might put in it altogether a very, very layman language. I need this particular report. Can I get some sort of visual graph like this? They might ask. What actually they mean is they might be wanting a AI technology to have been part of this application. They might want to have a big data technology. They might want an IoT technology. But the way they put would be different. When we go to Fortune 500 companies, they are competent people. They are highly experienced professionals that we're dealing with. They talk about specifics. They talk about what is my three sigma of this particular data I am talking about. So what is my predictive analytics? What is my assurance that my machine will not fail in the next 5 days? So they can talk about a highly advanced statistical patterns. They can talk about what is the variance of my measurements in the past 5 hours. So they can talk really technical language. So as technological engineers, we should be able to interpret both the layman language or the highly experienced professional language. And this is only going to make us more successful. So all the future machines are going to be intelligent. The processes are going to be more intelligent. And when we talk about IoT or the Industry 4, what we mean is the end-to-end connectivity, right from the physical world to the virtual world. We are going to have a seamless connectivity of the data. This is what we are going to see extensively in the future applications. So we are talking about a market not in the next 2 or 3 years, but to the next 10 to 15 years, we are going to see these technologies are going to be much prevalent. So several market reports also show this pattern that these Industry 4 technologies are going to be prevalent in the next 10 to 15 years. So once we understand the technologies for one particular industry, we can see that seamlessly we can use the same set of technology, same set of process to about 80% to several other industries without much changes. So this brings closure to the end of our presentation. So thank you very much to each of you for being with me in sharing my experiences. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take up.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. It was very nice. It is easy to understand. I hope the participants will get enhanced in their knowledge, and this will help them to get into the research. Thank you so much, sir, once again.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, few questions we'll have, sir. Few questions. Mr. Satkumar had asked one question. Sir, what will be the impact on unemployment due to this?
Yes, sir. So there is actually people have a misconception that the more we automate, the more the unemployment rises. But on the contrary, we see that people should be reskilled. Say, for example, a BE graduate comes out of a college. he must understand what the industry expectations are. They might not be expecting an engineer who is recently graduating to have the age-old, suppose if I come from a mechanical engineering background, the industries would expect him to also have a little bit of data understanding because the machines are going to be intelligent in the future. Or he may have to work with the intelligent machines. So the mechanical engineer may have to understand a bit on the data side. He also needs to understand a bit on electronics because he has to send the information from the backend to from the machines to the backend. And the future machines, when we talk about additive technology, the mechanical engineer needs also to understand the analytics because these 3D printing machines will have analytics as part of their implementation. So it is going to be a multidisciplinary skills what the future industries expect. So which means if we need to qualify for the industry requirements, we need to have the skills in all this in a holistic matter. It's not that I need to be a specialist. Being a mechanical engineer, I need to be a specialist in the electronics or the computer or the data side. I need to be a moderately equipped in all the other areas. So it is only the reskilling which is going to have an impact and not the unemployment. People have to reskill themselves. It's a clerical job. If a BCom graduate finds that RPA is in place, nevertheless, you see that a clerical person will still be useful for the organization in terms of other activities like handling of the accounts and handling of the documentary processes still will be useful. But he needs to understand that now the scope has shifted from doing only the clerical job to the other areas. We need to have an understanding. Otherwise, employment is going to rise. People will increasingly be used in several other automation areas.
Thank you so much. And another one question we'll take. Mr. APC had asked this question. Will our business data and customer information will be safe as the threat of cyber hacking continues to intensify each other? That's why I'm asking, sir. He has asked like that.
Yeah. The cryptography is going to be extremely important, not just in the network layer. We're not talking only about the HTTPS or the secured layer in the network level. We talk about a physical security. The moment I plug in my sensors to an IP address, which means my sensors are prone to attack, unless I have the security measures even as part of my physical devices, my devices or my machines or my shop floor is going to be compromised. So right from the physical devices onwards to the end data layer level, we need to have a security measures in place. The physical security, the network level security, the application level security, and the data level security. The cryptography is going to be extremely important. Whether we go for public key cryptography or the private key cryptography depends on the scalability of our applications in the future. Nevertheless, the moment we see somebody hacks, say for example, I have my bank account. If somebody compromises, gets and hacks my account, I lose my confidence in the particular bank. I close my account immediately. Then the entire bank operations will go bankrupt because all the future applications depend on I should be able to do my transaction using my mobile device. If I am unable to do because of the security measures, then the entire business is gone for the particular bank. So, and it is not easy to hack a bank account because they ensure that your data level security and your network level security, application level security cannot be compromised so easily. So the same level of security measures needs to be adopted even in Industry 4 applications.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for giving a wonderful presentation. So we will meet in some other occasion, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Dear participant, thank you so much. The final session we have at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. That will be handled by Mr. Rajesh, AGM. And so I will be sharing the session link by 1:45 p.m. 1:30 p.m. Please join by 1:50 or 1:55 at least. So link will be shared through mail as well as WhatsApp group. Thank you so much. And also individual feedback will not be sent for individual sessions. So finally, I will be sending the certificate hopefully within today, and with which the feedback form will also be attached. So So that time it can be sent to him. Okay. So thank you so much.